You saw me naked, didn't you? Even though it was to help the president, Ms. Miller, who had collapsed in the snow, it was probably still inappropriate. Looking down at Ms. Miller, who was trembling and clutching her chest, I reluctantly answered honestly. Yes, I did. As I said that, her face turned red. You'll have to take responsibility for this. Oh man, I can't wait for our first company trip. You'll be coming too, right? During lunch break, Stephen stopped eating his sandwich to ask me this while we were eating outside. Stephen had a goofy grin with a piece of soggy toast stuck to his front teeth, making me nearly spit out my soup in laughter. I'm not really into trips. It's not mandatory, but it feels like we have to go. What should I do? Seeing my coworkers at the office was more than enough for me. Some people are just annoying. But I put up with it because I get paid. Our company doesn't require us to save for trips like other companies do, they cover the entire cost, which is a nice perk. The president, being a young woman, ensures generous employee benefits, which is one reason I joined this company. But honestly, I'd rather stay home reading comics or playing games than go on a company trip. David, it's our first company trip. You don't want to miss this chance to get closer to the ladies, do you? When we joined the company, face-to-face interactions were restricted, and even our welcoming ceremony was held remotely. We also worked remotely for a while, so I still struggle to match names with faces in different departments. This is the first company trip in 4 years. It's a chance to make a name for myself, and, as Stephen said, to get to know the female employees better, but I'm not interested in either. Stephen, you've got toast stuck on your teeth. Stop being so excited and finish your meal. Lunch break is almost over. I pointed to his mouth and finished the remaining soup. My name is David. I'm 25, working in the sales department of a mid-sized trading company. People often categorize salarymen as competent or not, but as a young employee who joined under special circumstances, I'm still learning the ropes and not quite there yet. I still don't have much mental bandwidth, so I'm constantly exhausted and overwhelmed, leaving me no room to look forward to the company trip like Stephen. Moreover, it's a skiing trip to the mountains. As someone terrible at sports, I've never even worn ski shoes. The thought of participating doesn't excite me at all. Stephen, I've decided not to go. After much deliberation, with only 3 days left before the deadline to sign up for the trip, I made up my mind and told Stephen. But I already signed up. No, Stephen, I'm talking about myself. Yeah, I signed you up too. What? So now, here I am, packing my suitcase for the company trip in a very foul mood. Damn it, Stephen, what did he do that for? I have no intention of skiing or snowboarding. But since we're heading to a mountain resort, I bought a full set of ski gear just in case. It's an unnecessary expense since I'll probably never use it again. I could have bought some new comics instead. Unlike me, Stephen bought a snowboard as soon as he heard about the trip in the fall. He spent every weekend of the winter season driving 2 hours each way to the ski resort to practice snowboarding. If he put that much passion into work, Stephen would be a future president. I teased Stephen under my breath while calmly packing my things. On the day of the company trip, everyone, including Stephen, was in a festive mood on the bus. The narrow bus was so noisy with everyone's excitement that I put in my earphones to listen to music and block it out. The bus left the city and headed north on the highway. It was an early departure, and I was starting to feel sleepy when Stephen nudged me. Hey, Ms. Miller is about to give a speech. I took off my earphones and looked towards the front of the bus. Ms. Miller was standing there, facing us like the bus driver. Good morning, everyone. In response to her greeting, all the employees replied in unison like a group of small children, Good morning. I'm very happy that we can finally go on a company trip again. Please enjoy yourselves to the fullest. Her words were met with cheers and applause. Ms. Miller is amazing, such an inspiration. Yeah, I wonder if I can get closer to her on this trip. Maybe I'll invite her to the outdoor bath. Are we going to have a girls' bath time? The female employees behind us were getting excited about it. Listening in, Stephen seemed equally thrilled. David, they mentioned the outdoor bath. Do you think it's mixed? I have no idea. I was exasperated and gave a half-hearted reply. Ms. Miller is a 33-year-old woman. She took over her father's small family-run food wholesaler after graduating college and grew it into a mid-sized company with 200 employees in 10 years. And she's exceptionally beautiful and kind, making it no wonder that even women admire her. The bus continued towards our destination, with a few restroom breaks along the way, and we arrived at the ski resort after about 2 hours, during which I mostly slept. Wow, snow! It's so beautiful. The female employees were squealing with excitement. Driving just 2 hours from the city and seeing such a dramatic change in scenery was awe-inspiring. Even for someone as reluctant about the company trip as me. It was the first time I had ever seen a snow-covered landscape with my own eyes. Just seeing this snow makes the trip worth it, I muttered, feeling a bit better. Our company had rented out cottages adjacent to the ski resort instead of staying in a hotel with other guests. Several log cabin-style cottages, each accommodating 10 people, were connected by outdoor corridors. Surrounded by a snow-covered forest, we wouldn't disturb any other guests no matter how loud we got. There were amenities like movie rooms, a sauna, an open-air bath with a view of the snow, a spa, a bonfire area, and a kitchen that delivered drinks and snacks, especially perfect for the female employees. Ms. Miller has excellent taste. As we walked towards the cottages after getting off the bus, Ms. Miller was surrounded by female employees. It's only natural for me as president to do this much for the hard-working staff. She remained humble despite their praises. Ms. Miller, if you don't mind, would you like to visit our cottage? We rarely get the chance to socialize with you except on occasions like this. One of the female employees invited her, but she smiled and shook her head. Thank you, but please enjoy yourselves. I'll be staying at the hotel. A large hotel was visible on the other side of the forest. Ms. Miller was heading there instead. After making sure everyone found their cottages according to the room assignments, she walked alone towards the hotel. Too bad, I wanted to bathe with her. Yeah, I was curious about her amazing figure, but it can't be helped. I bought a new swimsuit for the sauna. Me too. It's a mixed-gender sauna. What? A mixed-gender sauna? No one told me that. Stephen, overhearing the women's conversation, was surprised. Darn, I didn't bring swim trunks. It was in the travel guidelines, bring your own swimwear for the sauna. Seriously? I missed that part. How could I? Stephen was still holding his head in despair, so I dragged him into the cottage to escape the cold. As soon as we arrived, the groups going skiing and snowboarding burst out of their rooms. Of course, Stephen was among them, eager to impress the girls despite being a total newbie at snowboarding. David, what are you going to do? I'll prepare the barbecue and wait for everyone to come back. Each cottage had a barbecue set ready for dinner. Since I wasn't planning to ski or snowboard, I decided to spend my time reading the comics I brought from home or playing games. That's no different from being at home. We came all the way to a mountain resort, you should try to enjoy it. Stephen talked as if he had an exciting personal life, but just like me, he hadn't had a girlfriend in 25 years. His hobby was eating alone at various restaurants, which wasn't much different from my interests in comics and games. I'm fine. You don't usually exercise, so don't get hurt by overdoing it, I said as I saw Stephen off. Left alone, I started reading a comic while looking out the cottage window. Even reading the same comics felt different with the beautiful scenery outside. As the sun began to set, I decided to start preparing the barbecue. The cottage's fridge was stocked with high-quality meat, plenty of vegetables, and even alcohol. Soon, everyone returned to the cottage. David, thanks for prepping everything, Stephen said, his face red from the cold. No problem. I'm enjoying myself too. As I set up the dishes and prepared the barbecue, leaving only the grilling of the ingredients to be done, I said to Stephen, aren't you heading to the bath now? I'll have the meat cooked by the time you get back. Got it. Let's go to the bath, guys. We'll be back in 30 minutes. Outdoor bath, here we come. Stephen quickly gathered the others and left the cottage again. Wow, I've never seen so much meat before. I started grilling the meat and vegetables right away. This looks so delicious. I should have a taste. I tasted some of the grilled meat and vegetables. Wow, this is amazing. I couldn't resist opening a bottle of red wine that was prepared for us. Even the red wine is great. I usually drank cheap bottled cocktails, but this red wine was a pleasant surprise. I need to stop myself. I should save some for when they get back. I was all set and waiting for everyone to return from the bath. However, no one came back. An hour passed since Stephen and the others went to the bath. What's happened to them? Maybe they ended up in someone else's cottage. The meat I had prepared to be eaten right away had become completely cold. Reluctantly, I started the barbecue alone, but I quickly became full. I even finished a whole bottle of red wine by myself and was feeling tipsy, but Stephen and the others still hadn't returned. I've read all the comics I brought and I'm bored of the games. Looking out the cottage window, I noticed it was snowing heavily, and the snow had piled up more than during the day. It'd be a waste to come here and not even touch the snow. I remembered the ski wear I had bought, still in the suitcase. I pulled out the ski wear and put it on, stepping outside the cottage. Wow, it's freezing. The blizzard stung my cheeks. I heard loud noises coming from another cottage nearby. In front of the cottage, it was a white, snowy world. I crouched down to scoop up some snow with my hands. Ha! What's that? Something was lying in the snow ahead of me. I walked over, crunching through the snow, and found a colorful knit hat and a ski pole. Someone must have dropped these. I reached out to pick up the hat and was shocked. Wait, there's a person here. A person was lying in the snow, half buried with their face partially covered. Their body was completely blanketed by snow. I almost froze in panic but quickly brushed the snow off their face. It's Ms. Miller. The person lying there was none other than Ms. Miller, who was supposed to be staying at the hotel across the forest. I lifted her out of the snow, but her face was as cold as ice. She was unconscious but still breathing. I need to warm her up quickly. I removed the skis from her feet, carried her, and brought her to the cottage I was staying in. I knew I had to get her out of her wet clothes immediately to prevent hypothermia. Although there was no time to hesitate, the tension of possibly dealing with a life or death situation, combined with the awkwardness of undressing a woman, had my head spinning. Why is she wearing so little in a snowy mountain? I tried to empty my mind and quickly undress her, but she was surprisingly lightly dressed. Under her ski wear, she had only a sweatshirt. Now that I think about it, she wasn't even wearing goggles. Even to an amateur like me, her attire was far from suitable for skiing. I managed to remove the clothes from Ms. Miller, who was unconscious, but as I looked down at her body, I gasped. No, stay calm. There's no time for this. I gently wiped off her body and dressed her in a spare t-shirt and pants I had brought, then put her in my ski wear. After a while, she seemed to regain consciousness and slowly opened her eyes. Where am I? She looked around the cottage and then at me with a puzzled expression. Ms. Miller, you were lying outside in the snow near the cottage, so I brought you here. Your clothes were wet and you were freezing. So I had to undress you. I'm sorry. I looked down at her as she propped herself up on the sofa. Her face turned red immediately. You saw me naked, didn't you? She clutched the ski wear I had put on her. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I answered honestly. There was no denying it since I actually saw her. But if I hadn't done that, who knows what would have happened to her. I see. I wanted to go night skiing alone, but the weather suddenly got worse, and I lost my way in the blizzard. I had only planned to go out briefly, so I wasn't dressed warmly. I saw the lights here and came to seek help. But I must have blacked out on the way. Ms. Miller was about my age, but she must carry unimaginable responsibilities and pressures daily. Otherwise, she couldn't have turned a small family-run wholesale business into a mid-sized trading company with many employees at such a young age. Ms. Miller ensures that we employees have ample benefits. She doesn't just focus on clients, sales, and expense figures. She genuinely cares for each employee. Perhaps she values her alone time because of this, I thought to myself. What's your name again? I'm David, from the sales department. David, thank you for saving me. I'll formally thank you later, but for now, excuse me. With that, Ms. Miller left the cottage. Stephen and the others returned the next morning. Their faces were extremely puffy from drinking too much and lack of sleep. So even if they had hit it off with the female employees the previous night, seeing their faces now would surely be a turn-off. David, I'm sorry we didn't make it back last night. You went through all the trouble of preparing the barbecue. Stephen apologized with his puffy face. I ate it all, so it's fine. I had the luxury of enjoying high-quality meat and wine all to myself. So, how did it go for you, Stephen? Me? No matter which girl I talked to, they all preferred their girls' night and I got shut down. By the end, they were like, "You're being too persistent. Go away." So, I ended up drinking alone with the guys at a bar. After packing up, we left the cottage. I glanced at the sofa where I had laid Ms. Miller last night, feeling like it was all a dream. Good morning, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed our company trip. At the meeting point, Ms. Miller addressed all the employees, and applause erupted around her. I was worried, but she looked healthy and vibrant, which reassured me. The return bus ride was much quieter than on the way to the ski resort. The usually lively female employees at the back were visibly exhausted, their eyes vacant, while Stephen next to me was snoring loudly. The incident with Ms. Miller last night was shocking, but in hindsight, I'm glad I attended the company trip. All thanks to Stephen, who signed me up without my consent. Thanks, Stephen. I silently thanked Stephen, who was snoring beside me. As work resumed and the excitement from the trip faded, Ms. Miller's secretary quietly approached me in the hallway. Ms. Miller would like to see you. Please come to our office after work without anyone noticing. I see. I pretended to work late, waiting for my colleagues to leave. Once the room was clear, I headed to the president's office. Excuse me, it's David from the sales department. Entering the office, I found Ms. Miller waiting. David, thanks for coming. I'm sorry for the delay in thanking you. No, it's fine. You don't need to thank me. She offered me a seat on the sofa. Being invited to the president's office was a rare occurrence for a young, low-ranking employee like me. Here, please take this. Ms. Miller handed me a paper bag. Inside were the ski wear, t-shirt, and pants I had lent her, all cleaned. Another small bag contained a box of what looked like high-end chocolates. Thank you for what you did that night. I need to ask, did you see me naked? Well, yes, I did, I replied, repeating the same conversation as before. You must have been surprised by what you saw. Honestly, I was. I had never seen scars like that before. When I had undressed her that night, I had seen several large scars on her body. Ms. Miller removed the scarf around her neck. A large horizontal scar ran across her neck. This is from surgery I had 2 years ago. I told everyone I was taking care of a sick parent, but it was actually me who was ill. I was stunned by her revelation. Are you okay now? For now, yes. The future is uncertain. The straight scar down my chest is from heart surgery when I was a child. Even in the middle of summer, Ms. Miller always wears a scarf around her neck. While it was considered stylish among the female employees, it was actually to hide her scars. It explained why she avoided the outdoor baths and saunas where she would have to wear a swimsuit. Though curious about her illness, I didn't press further. As long as she was healthy now, that was all that mattered. Please don't tell anyone about my scars or my illness, especially the neck scar. I don't want the employees to worry. Ms. Miller leaned in closer. Don't worry. I won't tell anyone. When I said this, she looked relieved and gave me a grateful smile. Talking about her privacy, let alone mentioning that I saw her naked, was out of the question. I was deeply impressed by her dedication to the company. Ms. Miller, you really don't need to thank me so much. I haven't even contributed much to the company yet. When I said this, she smiled and replied. You helped me by removing my wet clothes, folding them neatly, and returning them clean. When I saw that, I knew I had hired the right person. Really? Just by that? I asked. It might seem small, but from a management perspective, it's significant. I have high expectations for you. Thank you. Oh, and you will take responsibility for seeing me naked. Responsibility? Yes, if I ever need help with something personal, sometimes it's better to rely on a man, you know? You don't need to ask, of course, you can rely on me anytime. Since joining the company, I assumed Ms. Miller was single. No one ever mentioned her having a partner, but given how beautiful she is, I thought she must have someone. Perhaps her scars and illness made it difficult. I was genuinely happy to help in any way I could. I replied loudly. David, you've been really fired up about work lately. During lunch break, while I was having soup with Stephen again, he said to me. Really? I hadn't noticed. Knowing that Ms. Miller wasn't in perfect health, I felt a strong desire to contribute more to the company to ease her burden. This new motivation naturally translated into my work ethic. I had been working at the company without much thought, but now I wanted to protect what Ms. Miller had fought to build. Even if my contribution was small. Stephen, stop talking and eat quickly. Slurping my soup, I resolved to work hard in the afternoon.